Well, it's been a while since we've had to talk about an alert day on a weekend, but here we are. And off we go. Carson Meredith with you on this Saturday evening, a little early tonight, mainly just to get out ahead of it and what lies ahead. And hopefully I can get a little rest before things start to pick up this evening and overnight tonight. Obviously, we are here. Oops, you could tell I advanced the graphic there, didn't you? Sorry about that. We are here tonight, obviously, to talk about our alert day in place. Now, look, this is not at all an outbreak at all. A lot of you will not even see severe weather tonight, to be honest with you. But there is still that chance for a few stronger storms. And really the main issue, which is what we've talked about all week, the main issue is going to be wind, be it wind with thunderstorms or wind outside of thunderstorms. So that's why the alert day is a pretty extended one. It starts tonight and goes all the way into the day on Sunday. So that's what we're here for. But before we jump to that, let's look at that sunset, huh? Clouds are obviously filtering in. You're seeing more clouds than sun, but not too bad. It was a really nice day, right? Breezy, yes. Yes, it was breezy, but, you know, we didn't have any storms to deal with, at least during the day today, and that's good. But we will be dealing with at least some storms tonight. So the alert day kicks in at 9 o'clock. That's kind of been the time frame that we've been watching behind the scenes for a while. I just kind of put it officially set in stone on our graphics to you guys today. So we'll kick that alert day in at 9 and keep it until 6 o'clock tomorrow. So by the time we're chatting tomorrow night here on Wave Weather Now, the alert day will be gone. And again, this is kind of a combination of alert days, a two-parter, if you will, 1-2 punch. The first punch is going to be that risk for strong storms. The second punch is going to be all this wind that we're going to have to deal with over the next 24 hours. So here's the timeline graphic. It's a little different from the graphic one that Ryan showed you guys last night, but it still hammers home the same message, okay? So from 9 o'clock tonight until 7 or 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, there will be some thunderstorms in wave country at any given spot in our 34 counties. Are you going to see thunderstorms at your house for all of the next 12 hours? No. But somebody will in wave country. And some of those storms could be on the stronger side. And by strong, we mean damaging wind gusts, potentially 50, maybe 60 miles per hour. Heavy rain, of course. And, of course, you're going to ask about the tornado threat. Technically, it is there, but it is very, very low. That's not me trying to diminish the threat because we still need to pay attention to it. But I don't want you to feel like you got to stay up all night waiting for a tornado warning because that chance is extremely small. We're talking 2% or less. That means there's at least a 98% chance that you don't have to worry about a tornado tonight, okay? So that risk is very, very low. The main focus is going to be damaging wind gusts with these stronger storms and heavy rain. If I had to narrow down an area even more to watch, it would be for those of you that live west of Interstate 65, okay? So if you live west of Louisville, west of E-Town, west of Scottsburg, west of Seymour. If you live west of those towns, that's the area we'll be more focused on when it comes to stronger storms overnight tonight, okay? We get past 8 o'clock in the morning. The storms move out with the cold front. So the cold front shifts towards Lexington around 8 a.m., give or take an hour. And obviously that's when the cooler air starts to move in, but that's also when the storms are done. However, as you're going to see on the map here in a minute, the low pressure with this system is still going to be nearby. And that puts us in a just nasty, nasty setup on Sunday, where it gets cold quick, temperatures drop through the day, we have showers around basically all day, and we have non-thunderstorm wind gust upwards of 40 miles per hour once again. And that's really the main reason why we're keeping the alert day in place on Sunday, because 40 mile per hour wind gusts, that's when a wind advisory is issued by the National Weather Service here in Louisville, and also up in Indianapolis and Cincinnati, Ohio. And that's when you could have some wind damage and maybe even a few power outages too. So that's why the alert day is so lengthy. It's kind of a catch-all, if you will, for what we've got coming up over the next basically 24 hours. Speaking of wind, let's focus on the wind first, and then we'll go to radar. For tonight's wind in particular, we have a wind advisory now in effect for basically all of our counties. All of the counties that are controlled by the Weather Service office in Louisville are under a wind advisory. There is no wind advisory for Lawrence, Jackson, Jennings counties in Indiana, and there is no wind advisory for Carroll County, Kentucky. The reason why, you guys are wondering, if you live in those parts of the world, is because your Weather Service office, be it Indianapolis or Cincinnati, has opted not to go with the wind advisory just yet. It's personal preference. The Weather Service usually does a great job coordinating with these alerts, but for now, that wind advisory covers only 30 of our 34 counties. This is for overnight tonight. Now, as these storms weaken tonight, which they will weaken tonight, but as they do, we'll shift away from a damaging wind, severe storm threat to just plain old gusty winds, right? So it may not be severe thunderstorm winds anymore. It'll just be plain wind that might cause some issues. So that's why the wind advisory is in place from 1 o'clock tonight, or Sunday morning, however you want to look at it, until 9 a.m. Sunday morning. I will tell you, though, there is a possibility, I don't want to put the words in the Weather Service's mouth, but there is a possibility that we may have this wind advisory get extended into the day on Sunday for more of those gusty non-storm winds up to 40 miles per hour during the day tomorrow. So it's kind of a wait and see game with that. Here's radar. Now we'll focus mainly on the storm potential tonight, okay? As expected, nearly all of you have stayed dry today. It was a really nice day to get outside. I really hope you didn't cancel your plans today because it was pretty nice. We got up to 84, I believe, in Louisville last time I looked, which was 3 degrees off the record. So we got close. But there was indications, as Ryan talked about last night here on Wave Weather Now, there was indications that there could be a few showers or storms that develop around this time in our southern Indiana counties. And sure enough, that's been the case. You see, over the last 3 hours, most of the action has been just outside of wave country. It's been up towards Princeton, Indiana, Vincennes, up towards Bloomington. I know the IU game had to be delayed a little bit this afternoon, but I think they got back going. But some of those showers within the last hour did sneak into Du Bois, Orange counties, Lawrence County as well. And that's the area where we'll watch for maybe a few more showers to move in this evening through about 9 o'clock, okay? So now through at least 9 o'clock, most of you are just fine. If you got any Saturday night dinner plans, go enjoy it. Go enjoy it. It's a nice evening to be outside. But as we zoom into southern Indiana, you notice we are still watching some of these showers, mainly. A few showers just developed in northern Jennings County, well north of North Vernon. Kelly, DJ King, if you guys are watching, all that rain is north of you. More showers near Freetown and Jackson County. Little blip right there near Millport. More showers as you go into parts of Lawrence County, lighter stuff. And there's another shower just starting to sneak into Jasper and Du Bois County. We'll watch this heavier downpour that's just north of Jasper along Interstate 69. Lightning count is 1, so 1 single bolt with this little storm. But it is looking like it's going to be on a track to where it may go into, let me get my arrow here. It looks like it's going to be on a track to where it could sneak into Lawrence County, maybe clipping northern Orange County over the next 30 to 45 minutes. Nothing severe, not even close, but might have some heavier rain move back into Bedford and maybe closer to Paoli and French Lick here shortly. So that's the near-term view. Let's zoom out and we'll talk long-term for overnight tonight. And then I'll get to your comments. I know I've been rambling already for 10 minutes. I apologize. And I'm going to stop the radar so you guys can process it better. So the storms I just showed you across Indiana generally are lifting to the north and east. Okay? So those really aren't an issue for us. They're lifting north, and that's going to keep the small rain chances through about 9 o'clock exclusively in southern Indiana. Everybody else is dry. And even then, that rain chance in southern Indiana is about 30%. That's all. What you see to our west is the main show tonight, guys. There it is. It looks like a QLCS, a quasi-linear convective system. Layman's term, squall line. Basically, that's what we're looking at here. If you saw our social media post with the radar check around 5 o'clock tonight, you noticed there was a tornado warning down in Arkansas. And there were a bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings too. However, as I do a quick scan, I don't see any severe thunderstorm warnings in Missouri. I see a couple in southern Arkansas, but that makes sense because that's where the greater instability is. That's where the greater storm fuel is tonight, is to our south and to our west. Regardless, we still need to pay attention to this as it gets its act together, and it's going to progress to the east and northeast through the night. And for us, I think this line of storms will start to move into our western counties at approximately 11 p.m. Eastern time. So right as you're hopefully seeing us on Wave News at 11 tonight, we'll likely be tracking these storms as they are knocking on the door of wave country. And I can't emphasize enough, these storms will be weakening as they move in tonight. The million-dollar question with these setups, especially these setups where you got a lot of wind energy and not a ton of fuel, is how long does it take for them to eventually weaken? I am encouraged by the fact that there's not a ton of severe thunderstorm warnings out there right now. I thought there'd be a few more. So we're in good shape right now. But eventually these storms will move in. And I think closer to 11 o'clock tonight is when we'll start to see these storms mainly in our western counties first, and then keep rolling eastward as the night goes on. Okay? So that's where we are there. Now let's pause. And we'll take some comments. Let's see who's here. Crispy, you got the first comment tonight. Congratulations. Noodlehead's here. Batting down the hatches. Yeah. Even if we don't see severe weather, it's going to be pretty windy the next 24 hours, no doubt. Let's see. Tina's here. Kathy's watching in E-Town. Anita, any chance of power outages? There is a chance. I'll dive into that later, Anita. That's a good question. It's one of the main concerns we have tonight, honestly. Weather Geek's here. Albert's here. Angela, what's the Cape looking like? Cape, convective available potential energy, storm fuel, AKA. It is very, very low. The most I've seen in our area is like 300, maybe a couple little blips around 500. But when you've got Cape or storm fuel values under 500, that's a thing that's in your favor. And the lack of storm fuel tonight is really going to keep this from being a crazy severe weather episode, which is good. Kelly's here up in North Vernon. Hello. Ann's here. Paul's here. Rusty's here. ZK, Shonda, Blue. Daniel's watching from Breck. Hope all's well out there in Breck County. Reagan, thanks for keeping us safe. Me and the pups are waiting for the power to go out on our new TV. Well, I think the power outages tonight will be pretty isolated, okay? It's not going to be everybody, but if you get some of these stronger wind gusts in here, then yeah, it might knock out power for a little bit. Live view of New Albany on the SkyTrack camera. Gorgeous sunset. You can see right there at the bottom of the screen. I got the camera pointed up so you can see the wind. It has definitely been breezy. That is for sure. We're at 80 degrees now here in Louisville. The new temperature update just came in here at the top of the hour. And you see most of us are in the upper 70s, but you also notice some big-time rain-cooled air in our northwestern corner where we've had some of those showers moving through this evening. 68 in Bedford, 66 in Paoli. You go 10, 20 miles down the road in Seymour and Salem at 77. So, and that's kind of an appetizer, guys, to tomorrow. It's going to be chilly on Sunday. Perfect chilly weather, if I say so myself. So the alert day kicks in at 9. At first, we're focused on the risk for a few stronger storms. And as the night goes on, we shift away from that strong storm threat more to just the plain gusty wind threat, as we've talked about. Wind advisory starts around 1 a.m., 40, 45 mile per hour wind gusts possible. Note the temperature. Note the temperature tonight. The low temperature in Louisville, 63. Just take a note of that. Tomorrow, a couple waves of rain, in fact. So the main show is tonight, overnight. See, those storm chances are pretty high between about 2 and 6 a.m. Once the front moves through tomorrow morning, the storms are gone, and we may actually get a small break. Small, I'm talking 2 or 3 hours. But we may get a small break in the more widespread rain right around church time in the morning. So if you're going to be heading out for Sunday morning services, definitely still take the umbrella, but it may not be a monsoon as you're walking into the sanctuary tomorrow morning. If you're heading out for brunch, it may not be a monsoon as you're walking into the restaurant. However, as we get into Sunday afternoon, that moisture starts to wrap back around the low pressure that'll be to our north. And as that moisture wraps back around, those rain chances surge once again. And when those rain chances surge Sunday afternoon, that's also when those wind gusts will start to ramp back up closer to that 40 mile per hour range. But you can see when it's focused exclusively on the storm chances, the alert day portion is now through tomorrow morning for storms. Later in the day, it's just rain, a cold rain too, a blustery rain, unfortunately for your Sunday. As we get into Sunday evening, I think around this time tomorrow night when I'm talking to you guys, the last of the showers will be moving out. And we'll have some dry weather Sunday night and Monday. All right, here's Futurecast. 9 o'clock tonight. Mostly dry, as we've talked about. Maybe a couple of downpours in our far northern counties, like we're seeing now. That's all through about 9. Night goes on. Here's midnight. Here's that line of storms, the main show that's out of Missouri and Arkansas now. Still has a decent kick with it at midnight as it moves into Du Bois County. Okay? This is why we're focused on areas west of I-65 for any stronger storms tonight. But watch what happens. So here's midnight. There's 2:30. Still some heavy rain, but it doesn't necessarily have that severe look, right? Instead, I think we'll be just looking at some gusty thunderstorms at this point, non-severe. You might hear the raindrops really hitting your window hard. It might wake you up. But is it severe? Not necessarily. 7:30 in the morning. Sun's coming up around that time. Obviously, you're not going to see the sun in the morning. But the storm threat is winding down around this time. Now, look closely. So here was what's left of the main line of storms. All right? It's all the way out to Lexington at 7:30 in the morning. But look at this secondary line. That is directly along the cold front. So what you've got right now out of Missouri and Arkansas is a line of storms ahead of the front And models have been very consistent on this second line developing directly along the front, moving through wave country tomorrow morning, 6, 7, 8 o'clock. This would likely not be severe, in other words, not 60 mile per hour wind gust, but it could produce 40 or 45 mile an hour gust. And that's really the main reason why the Weather Service has that wind advisory in place. Once that secondary band moves through your backyard tomorrow morning, you're done with thunderstorms for the day on Sunday. Now, you notice that line of storms perks back up as it gets out towards eastern Kentucky, but that won't be a problem for us. However, what will be a problem throughout the day will be all of these wraparound showers you see. So, front's way out this way. Here comes that colder air moving in on the backside of the low. There's still some moisture getting wrapped around the backside of the low too. And that's why we have to keep that rain in the forecast basically all day tomorrow. There was some hope we could dry things out Sunday afternoon, but yeah, you can see that hope is pretty much gone. So 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon, widespread rain. When this rain is at its most widespread Sunday afternoon, that's when those wind gusts will perk back up again. As we get towards 6 o'clock, still perhaps a few showers, especially along and east of I-65. And then by sunset, we're done. Not only are we done with the rain, but the skies clear out pretty quickly too. As far as rainfall totals, I think we're looking at about a ½ inch across the board, quarter to ½ inch for the most part. There will be some isolated spots that get closer to 3/4 or 1 full inch of rain. So a good rain, not flooding rain because the system's still moving pretty quick. Not a ton of heavy rain, but that's the story there. Around a ½ inch expected of rain. So there's the storm component. Let's talk wind. Obviously, it's been breezy today. We've had those gusts around. I think the peak gust I saw was 24 at Ali today at the airport. No surprise. So we keep the gusts in that ballpark for a few more hours. And then as the storms are weakening tonight, remember, we shift away from the strong storm focus and then we go to just plain wind. And that's what you're seeing here on Futurecast. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, we're looking at those wind gusts around 40 to 45 miles per hour. This is when you might start to see the lights flicker just a little bit. You might lose power briefly. Unfortunately, this is going to wipe out a lot of the fall foliage, which stinks because the colors were really starting to pop. Hopefully some leaves can still hang on, but 40, 45 mile per hour gusts with fall foliage, it's usually never a good combo. But, you know, you could have some of those little tree limbs fall on a power line. You could have maybe a very weak power pole go down. I don't think that'll be widespread, but it could happen. And you're going to get it with that kind of wind. And it's kind of two waves of those strong winds. One is overnight tonight, where we have the wind advisory in place. And there might be a little break mid-morning, 9, 10 o'clock, where you only see 25 mile an hour gust again. But as that moisture wraps back around the backside of the low and the low moves overhead, that's when those gusts start to ramp back up again, closer to 40 miles per hour Sunday afternoon. So that's why we'll keep the alert day in place for now through 6 o'clock Sunday. So 40 mile an hour gust overnight tonight, 40 mile an hour gust tomorrow afternoon, with maybe 20 or 30 mile an hour gust in the middle around lunchtime. And then we get into Sunday evening. Still breezy, but it will not be quite as bad as what we had during the day. All right, here comes the 10-day. And while I show you that, we'll go through some comments. See what questions we have. 560 of you watching on our social media platforms tonight. We appreciate it. Let's see. Bradley, Carrollton, tornado risk. Very, 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 very low. 1% for you guys in Carrollton. if that. I think if we do see any spin ups tonight, again, that risk is extremely low. But if we do see one decide to annoy us, I think that greater risk would be west of Interstate 65. So I hope that makes you feel more at ease there. Kelly, I'll be up all night over this. We have a 15-minute drive to a safe spot if we were to get something. That's fair. I know a lot of you guys have the same thing where you got to drive to a safe spot, which is great. Hopefully you guys do that every time. But please take comfort in the fact that, especially for you, Kelly, up in North Vernon, the tornado threat is extremely low. Okay? I'm not saying it's 0. I'm saying it's 1 or 2%. And that's not a lot. So take comfort in that. And I'll be up all night watching it too. Trust me. Let's see. Brad, we talked about your tornado risk for Carroll County, which is extremely low. I saw 40s for a low later this week. Frost advisories, question mark. It's possible. It is possible. You see, I'll highlight Thursday morning in particular. We got a forecast low Thursday morning in Louisville of 42. But a lot of you are going to be in the mid-30s. Oh, boy. I would not be totally shocked if we had a frost advisory. On Thursday morning especially. That looks to be the coldest morning this week. It's going to be clear sky for the most part, mostly clear. The wind will be light. That's a perfect recipe for some frost. So Thursday morning, I think, has the biggest frost potential at this point. Good question. Adam, hello from Bloomington. Rain moved in about 5 o'clock, delayed the victory a little bit. Tell you what, they're going to be number 2 in the country since the Cards took care of business last night. Albert put up all the patio furniture today. Good idea. If you have your trash cans outside, it might be a good idea to move them into the garage, or at least try to find a way to get them anchored down so they're not flying down the street, especially if they're empty. Let's see. Ricky, my son and I flew our first kite today. It was amazing. I bet. As windy as it was. That's awesome. Yeah, it was just breezy enough for a good kite day, but not too windy to where it destroys it, right? Let's see. Forgive me if I skip by your comment, guys. There's just a lot of them. I don't want to be here all night going through one by one. Kenneth has a good question, though. Out of pure curiosity, what is the criteria for high wind warnings and high wind watches in our area? I know the criteria for wind gust when you're talking about high wind warnings is 60 miles an hour, I believe. I'm fairly confident in that. For sustained winds, it's 40 miles an hour, where you've just got constant 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. That would trigger a high wind warning. And I think 60-mile-per-hour gusts would trigger a high wind warning as well. So 40 and 60 for high wind. Those are quite rare. We don't get those very often. But it has happened. You guys remember, what was it, March 3rd, 2023? That was a high wind warning day. That was wild. It was wild for me when I was working down in Alabama. Let's see. Adam, falling temps tomorrow. Yes, that 60 you see on the 10-day, that is tomorrow morning in Louisville. And I'm being generous there. We will fall into the 50s across the board Sunday afternoon. It's going to be one of those flip-flop days where, not flip-flop weather, but flip-flop in the sense that we start off on the warmer side and we finish off on the cold side. So those temps will be dropping throughout the day on Sunday. Braden, what wind speed is considered damaging? If you're talking about thunderstorms, damaging winds can happen usually around 60 miles an hour. If you're talking plain wind, like non-thunderstorm wind, around 40 miles an hour is when you can start to have some trouble. Crispy, will this be a situation where after the initial line of storms goes through, the severe weather threat is over? Or will the threat persist after the beginning of the line? I think by and large, the severe threat will be done after the first line. However, there is a chance that that second line directly on the front tomorrow morning could have more wind with it. Severe wind, not necessarily, but still have some decent wind, around 40 tomorrow morning. I really think the severe threat's done pretty quickly tonight, and it's mainly just a wind focus with a lot of rain. So again, not a huge outbreak at all. Not a huge outbreak at all. Let's see, a few more comments and then we'll wrap it up, gang. Would you consider Louisville more east or west Kentucky? Neither. Louisville is right down the middle in central Kentucky. North central, technically, since we're on the northern side of the state. But Louisville's kind of the dividing line. Really, Interstate 65 is across the whole state. West of 65, in my view, is basically western Kentucky. And then further east, obviously. You get the idea. But I think Louisville's right down the middle. Hello. Let's see. Sheila. Sorry, I can't tell if you got an I in your name. Sun gets off work at 10 in Crestwood. Will it be bad around that time? 10 o'clock this evening? No, you're fine. There may be a shower that pops up, and nothing severe, nothing too blustery at 10 o'clock tonight. All good. A few more, and we'll call it a night. Shonda, are you doing another live later tonight, if necessary? So here's what I got in mind, and y'all can tell me if you like this idea or not. We've done this before, but it's been a while. My plan at this point is, I hope y'all understand, I got to do all the shows tomorrow. And I'm afraid if I just sit here all night with no severe weather talking, I love y'all, but I'm afraid I won't have a voice Sunday morning. So what I'm going to do is once we're done with our 11 o'clock newscast tonight, I am going to at least attempt to kind of run a loop of our weather graphics on our social media channels, on our Wave Weather Facebook page, perhaps on the Wave News Facebook page, we'll see, on my Facebook page, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff. I'm just going to run a constant loop of graphics, radar, the wind forecast, futurecast, things like that. And it won't have any audio with it, but I just want you guys to at least have something you can look at in addition to Wave Weather Now throughout the night if you're going to be awake. So that's my plan. We're going to just kind of scroll through some graphics throughout the night. I'll be watching it. Don't get me wrong. I'll be watching it. And if it is necessary for me to jump on a live stream, I'll hop right on and we'll be off and running, no problem. So that's kind of my game plan for tonight. I hope that makes sense. Hope that makes sense, Shonda. Good question. Lisa, tornado risk for Hillview, tornado risk for all of Louisville is very, very low, 1 or 2%. That means there is a 98 to 99% chance that we will not have a tornado tonight. That's very good odds. Very good odds. Main focus is just gusty winds. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Danny, should I salt the driveway? I mean, if you want to, you can. You don't need to, but you know, if you're trying to bring winter ahead of schedule, knock yourself out. Let's see. Missy, one more question. Is it starting at 9 or is it going to be at 1 a.m. in the morning whenever everybody's sleeping? For a lot of you, it's going to be while you're sleeping tonight. The reason I've started the alert day at 9 o'clock is just in case we have a couple of pop-ups that arrive ahead of schedule. Just kind of, I like to give ourselves a buffer on that timing. Because I don't like the idea of saying, hey, an alert day starts at 2 a.m. and it's midnight and we've got storms already here. I like to give you all a buffer so you can plan a little bit better. So most of you will be fine through about midnight, and then after midnight, it might get a little noisy. Hope that makes sense, Missy. Good question. All right. Thank you. You have a good evening as well, Reagan. Yeah, good idea to charge your electronics. Good thinking, Shonda, and thank you for the kind words. Good idea to have your phones charged up just in case. Power might go out briefly for an hour or two, right? With this wind. So make sure you have those batteries charged up just to be safe. Have those warnings ready to go. Have the Wave Weather app set to where you get those warnings if they are issued. NOAA Weather Radio, same thing. And especially if you do lose power with the gusty winds, definitely a good idea to have your devices charged, okay? So that's where we are, guys. Again, this is not a huge ordeal at all. I don't want you to panic. I don't want you to feel like you have to stay up all night. That's my job. And that's probably what I'm going to be doing tonight. So we'll be here all night. Don't be surprised if you get woken up by some thunder. But this is just one of those deals where you just got to pay attention just in case. Sleep well. It's honestly going to be good sleeping weather, really. But there might be a few warnings, especially west of Interstate 65. So that's where we stand at this point, guys. Again, let me pop back on camera real quick. We've got football tonight. We've got Notre Dame and USC. That's a big game. Once that game is done, we'll have our newscast on Wave, hopefully around 11. And then once I'm done with the 11 o'clock newscast, the Wave Weather Now stream that you're watching on the Wave News app, the Wave Weather app, if you're watching it there, that'll go back to the 24/7 live stream that you guys all know and love. But I will also have another stream on our social media channels throughout the night with no audio, but just a bunch of graphics keeping you informed of what's happening and what's ahead. And if I need to jump on, if I need to give you an update on a severe thunderstorm warning or something like that, obviously I'll come right back in this Wave Now studio and talk it through with you guys, okay? So hope that makes sense. We're here all night. We're watching it. And it'll be fine. No big deal. No big deal. Just stay aware, sleep well, have ways to get warnings, and we'll be in good shape. All right, guys, that's it for now. I will see you guys tonight on Wave News after Notre Dame football. Take care.